Hello, my name's Claire and this is Stitch Hem Sew. Thank you so much for joining me today for another video. Now today's video is all about what I got sewn up in the month of March and my reveal of my Sew Frugal makes too. So March for me was a fairly light month in terms of sewing. I think I said in my March plans that I didn't think that I would be able to sew up a huge amount of stuff in the month of March because I have got a hugely busy work period, if you like, for March and April and into May, which is going to affect my productivity slightly, and I was also going to be involved in lots of preparation for Selfless Sew April 23, which is a challenge that I'm running with the lovely Cyrstal from my social thread and Adele from Sew for Serenity, and the idea is that you sew up something for somebody other than yourself. So I've been doing lots of work behind the scenes for that too, lots of the artwork and things, which has kept me busy, but I have managed to sew up some stuff in the month of March and I'd like to share that with you today. So I'm going to show you what I've made. I don't necessarily think it's in the precise order that I sewed them in, but I will show you what I have got made in the month of March. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this top here. Now this is the Stevie top from Tilly and the Buttons, made in this gorgeous art gallery fabric that I bought from Stitching In Fabrics. It was a remnant piece. I think I bought a 1.8 metre piece, but it was quite a narrow fabric. It was only 112 centimetres wide, so I have got a small amount of that fabric left, but not very much. And this was the first time of sewing up this particular pattern, and I think I added a little bit of length to the bodice of it, because I have to do that with all patterns because I'm quite tall, and I decided that on the back I would just put a button rather than doing you can do like a tie detail with how you make sort of a biased binding strip, but I find that a little bit irritating having that sort of tie detail at the back, so I've just gone for a button, and I've just added this green button on that I had in my button stash that's got little sparkly bits in, which is quite sweet. And I also entered this into the sewing challenge that the lovely Jess from So What If I Sew was running, which was Sew Yellow for Endo. Now the idea behind that was that you sew a yellow make or something that has got yellow in, and the idea behind that challenge was to raise awareness for endometriosis, and you posted your make and you made a donation to her Just Giving page, which was going to Endometriosis UK. Apologies for my stumble there. And so this was one of the makes that I entered for that as well. This is a really fun fabric, quite loud for me, but yeah, I'm really loving it, and I'm really keen to make this again. I think next time I might make it in a visco so it's a little bit more floaty. But yeah, really like this one, and as I say, a really fun sew and in a fun fabric. The next thing I've got to show you is my Tilly and the Buttons Lyra dress. Now this is actually a Lyra bodice with a lotter skirt, and I also added pockets. I added 1.5 inches to the bodice because as I say again, I'm quite tall, and I added 2 or 3 inches to the skirt length as well, because I just find that works well for me. It just takes it to just below the knee length on me, which I really like. Sorry, this is a little bit crumpled because I haven't ironed it since it came out the wash. I wore this to the Stitch Festival in March, and that was such a lovely event, and I have got an actual video out on the my experience there and what are the things that I bought, if you want to check that video as well, and I'll link a card up above. And yeah, that was such a lovely event, and I wore this dress, I wore it with a belt. I'll pop in a photo of me wearing it. Got to meet lots and lots of lovely people at the event. I went with the lovely Adele from Sofa Serenity, and we spent the day also with the lovely Michelle from Sewing Bunny, and Katie from whatever Katie Sews on Instagram, and Stacey from Notions of a Dressmaker on Instagram. And we had an amazing day. We bumped into loads of other vloggers and spent time with them. We saw and met loads of other people as well who came up to speak to us, so thank you so much if you were one of those people. And obviously we saw all of the lovely people and small businesses that were there as well, and stopped and chatted to them as well. It was just a fantastic day. Anyway, in relation to this make, this fabric was from the lovely Anna from Pattern Pouch Nest and her wonderful company. I recently, I think it was in February, went to a sewing social that is run by the lovely Catherine from Soverton Makery, and Anna had come along with some of her fabrics, and I bought this fabric here at the sewing social with the idea of making up a Lyra, which obviously I've done. This is a little Kylie machine label that just says handmade, and I just thought those colours went really well with the dress. This is my second time of making the Lyra Lotta combo, and the first time I made it with the long sleeve, but this time, because this print was so bright and summery, I thought that the short sleeves worked better for it. So yeah, really pleased with this one, and yeah, I got lots of lovely compliments on it when I was at the Stitch Festival too, which was just lovely. Now, another thing that I made in the month of March that wasn't originally on my March plans but just sort of stuck in there was a pattern that Waves and Wild had sent out. If you were part of their newsletter, that you could download it for free. I think it's now a pattern you have to pay for, and that was for this sort of pencil case pattern. I've actually used it to put my makeup and brushes in. It's got the main zip at the top, and then you can add an additional zip, which I'm just keeping makeup brushes in to keep them sort of separate from my makeup, and so they don't kind of get lost at the bottom. And then obviously your main zip there that I'm keeping all my makeup in. Yeah, just a lovely sort of simple pattern that came together quite nicely. And sometimes I just like to sew up something where I don't have to worry about the fit or you know, grading between sizes and things like that. It's just nice to, every so often, just to sew up something that is an item rather than a garment. So yeah, another sort of little sew that snuck in there. Now, the next makes that I've got to talk to you about were actually my Sew Frugal makes. Unfortunately, I haven't got either of them to show you to hand. One of them is in the wash. I went to see whether I could retrieve it to show you, but it is absolutely filthy because he's worn them to preschool and they're covered in paint and things. And the other item has been gifted, but I will obviously pop in some photos so that you can see them. Now, the first item was for my son. I made him some jogging bottoms from a pattern, a free pattern. Obviously, that was the idea behind Sew Frugal. A free pattern from Tanya's Closet. Now, if you haven't explored her website, she has got so many free patterns and she brings them out really regularly as well, so well worth checking out. So I sewed up her kids joggers pattern. I added some pockets. I've just made them out of some green sweatshirting fabric that I had left over in my stash from another project that I did, and I used some green cuffing fabric for the waistband. When I came to the the cuffs, leg cuffs, I'd stupidly not cut the bit of cuffing fabric out on the fold, thinking I had enough of the green fabric. I didn't. Alright, so I then had to cut them out of some black cuffing fabric, but it's fine. They work fine. It was a lovely frugal make, as I say, using up a sort of a remnant piece of fabric, which is the great thing about sewing kids clothes, is that sometimes you can squeeze them out of things that you've made before. This was a great pattern, really easy to sew up. The only thing I would say about in terms of the drafting of this particular one is that the leg cuff thing section was really narrow. I don't know whether I just cut the piece out wrong or what I did, but I just adapted it to the size that I thought it should be, and it worked out absolutely fine. So, but other than that, all works out quite nicely. I think I made the aged 4, he's 3, but as I normally say in all of my videos, my kids are quite tall, they grow like weeds, and so I always try to make a little bigger than they are. These are a little bit roomy, but not ridiculously so, and within a few weeks they'll be growing out of them. So you know, I always like to err on the side of caution and make a little bigger, just so you get a few more extra weeks or months out of them. So definitely a pattern that I would recommend as a free pattern, and I'll definitely be checking out her other free patterns on her website. I was hoping that I was going to sew up a top for myself from her patterns as well, but I haven't got round to sewing that up as yet. Maybe something that I'll sew maybe in the month of May or something. Now the next item I made again was for a child, but not for my child. I had some lovely mustard French terry fabric left, which is sort of mustard base and had got flowers on, that I previously made a jumper for myself in. Now the trouble of having 2 boys is that sometimes I end up with pieces of fabric that I've made something for myself in that are too big to sort of, you know, just discard, if you like, but aren't really suitable for my 2 boys. So I'd kept this piece of fabric with the idea at some point I'd sew it up for somebody, and I decided that I would sew up something for the lovely Adele's daughter. Her name is Alice, and I gave the jumper to Adele when I saw her at the Stitch Festival, and she very kindly sent me a photo of Alice wearing her jumper, and said that I could put a picture of her in my video. So thank you to Alice for modelling so beautifully. She just looks so cute. It's definitely got some wearing ease in, shall we say, some room for growing, which I'm all about, but she looks so cute. So thank you, Adele, for sending me the picture, and to the lovely Alice, thank you. I hope you like your jumper. And this jumper, I did sort of a mashup of 2 of the Brindle and Twigs free patterns. Now they have got a raglan hoodie pattern, and they have also got their ringer tee pattern, which you can also kind of make in a long sleeve top. So originally I thought to myself that I was going to make her a hoodie. However, I happened to be watching one of Adele's videos before I made up the hoodie, and she was talking about the fact that Alice doesn't like things that go, she doesn't like hoodies because she doesn't like the way it feels when it goes over her head. So I quickly changed tack, shall we say, and decided that I would go for a sweatshirt. So I basically used most of the ringer tee components, but I've used like the cuffs and the bottom band, I think is what I used from the hoodie pattern, just so that they were a bit larger and made more of your kind of traditional crew neck jumper. And I think that's what that one has turned out really nicely. I did double dip, if you like, for a want of a better expression, with this make for my Sew Yellow for one of my So Yellow for Endo makes, my second entry, and also for So Frugal 23. So that was great, and I've had so much love on that post for So Frugal 23 because again I put the picture of Alice in. She is a star, and she has very much helped my the number of likes I think that I received on that post because she just looks so cute. So again, thank you to Alice and to the lovely Adele. So those were my So Frugal makes. Now the last thing that I made in the month of March was what I'm wearing. Now this is the sagebrush top, but I've actually made it into a dress. So what I did is I cut out the top essentially as normal, but I decreased the length of the bodice section, and then I've added the Lotta skirt onto the bottom of the dress, and then I have just done a rolled hem on the bottom. Now that is the first time I've used my rolled hem foot. Turned out quite well, I was quite pleased. I think you can also do a rolled hem on the overlocker, but I haven't explored that option as yet, so that will be something I need to do in the future. But yeah, really pleased with that. Obviously it's got the lovely little ruffle detail. It might be quite hard to see in this busy print. It's got the lovely little voluminous sleeves, but in the viscose obviously that's quite drapey. I have gone for, I've turned on the pattern itself, you use like a bias binding round here, but the bias binding itself is kind of stands up above the neckline, but I don't really like that, so I kind of fold it in again, so it's more of a traditional use of bias binding. And then the idea is that you continue that bias binding round to kind of form a bow at the back, but again I'm not a great fan of how that feels on my neck, so I have just done I've just added a button, and then I've made a little thread loop, and I'll try and take a picture of the back of that and pop it in so that you can see what I mean by that. But yeah, really pleased with how this one's turned out. The actual fabric itself was a bit of a pain to work with, if I'm honest with you. It's not the nicest quality viscose that I've ever worked with. It shifted around a lot, it played around quite a lot, but actually the finished result of it I quite like. I added an elastic channel like the Lotta dress has at the waist, but I often when I wore it the other day I styled it also with a belt because I just liked how that looked. So that was my last make of March. So I do hope you've enjoyed seeing everything I sewed up in the month of March, including my So Frugal makes. It's been a really good month. I've loved seeing everybody's So Frugal makes, and I'm really looking forward to the month of April as well, and seeing everything that people sew up for the sewing challenge Selfless Sew April 23. So do let me know if you've sewn up any of the patterns that I've made this month, or what you've been up to in the month of March. So I will say goodbye for now. I hope you've had a fantastic month, and I hope to catch up with you really soon. Take care, happy sewing, bye bye.